I'm joined on Zoom by Carolyn, who is the lead singer from Gather the Lost. The band released their debut Alone last year, which we were loving on Phoenix FM, and they were back with their single a little while ago called Shivers as well, which is excellent, and we love that too. So it's a really good morning to you. Nice to speak
Good
to you.
morning. Thank you so much for having me on. Very grateful.
Now, I can hear by the accent that you are based over in Ireland. What part are you from?
I am. I'm in Dublin.
Yes, which
Yeah.
we discuss. We do know because we've spoken to each other that
Yeah.
you're a Dublin girl, and I
You're
lived
in
in
Dublin.
Dublin 5 years.
Yeah.
And what part are you on? South side? Are you on north
So
side?
I'm originally from South Side, but at the moment I live North Side.
Yeah,
So, but you were kind of around the city centre, wasn't that what you were saying?
yeah. The Adelaide that used to be the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a nice area as well, and it's
yeah.
handy because you're close to everything.
Now, Gather the Lost. Tell us about the band and how you all got together and what you were doing before you were lead singer for them.
Yeah, so I think I started trying to put this band together probably the end of 2019, the very beginning of 2020. And Alan, the guitarist, he was the first find, and then we went into a lockdown, so it obviously made it quite problematic trying to put this band together, and it definitely took an awful long time, longer than a normal band probably takes to put together. But um, patience, it pays off, and everything is worth the wait. So I'm really happy with the lineup now. We've got Niall on drums, and we've got Brian. He's our bass player as well, and it's a good lineup. Really happy, like a good kind of family vibe going on. So it was worth the wait. It took a long time, but it was worth the wait.
And it's
Um,
good when you get the band that you kind of have a laugh with, because they are, as you said, it is a bit like a family rather than just going to work where you've got to work with colleagues. This is more of a bands and things do become like part of your family.
Exactly. And you're going to be spending so much time together that you want to make sure that you have the right people in your team, that kind of have the same vision as you, and they want the same things out of the band. So it's good. We have a good laugh.
So, who were your early influences and who influences you now?
Oh God, such a hard question. I'm the youngest of five, and they're all like 9 to 15 years older than me. So I grew up with probably everything you can imagine playing in the house, everything from like Nirvana to Celine Dion. So you kind of name it, it was playing. So
Mm.
um, I definitely kind of grew up with a big variety of music. Um, and now I kind of still I'm quite the same. I kind of listen to a huge variety. It's stayed with me, and I'll go through one phase where I'm listening to one artist for ages, and then I'm switching over to something completely different. So I kind of get inspired by an awful lot of different artists, different genres. Um, and then I like the band itself. I know Alan is kind of similar to me in that he's inspired by everything. His influences are very varied as well,
Mm.
but especially kind of 80s rock. You can hear that in his playing as well. You can hear where his love for 80s rock comes in, and also because he's from Brazil, you have a little bit of that Latin vibe that comes into it too.
Yeah.
And then you've got our bass player. He's more kind of like the funky vibes, anything, funky bass player, Jamiroquai and all of that kind of thing. And then our drummer is very much like a Tool versus Smashing Pumpkins, and so it's an interesting
Yeah.
variety. A lot of people ask what kind of our band influences would be, and it's so hard to kind of pinpoint that because we all have such different influences. So it's kind of, if you put a big mix of all of those influences together, maybe you find us somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's so hard. We can't say go listen to this band, and if you like them, then you'll probably like us, because we haven't got something very specific that we're influenced by. We love everything.
Now, your voice is very distinctive and powerful,
Thank
and
you.
that's really hard for people to say in the music industry because, as you know, a lot of acts, you're like, is that, am I listening to that person or that person? They all sound quite the same,
Yeah.
without being, I'm not being mean, but can sound quite sameish. So, when did you discover that you could sing? Well, you've been singing since you were a child, or did you discover it later in life?
I think like all singers, like yourself as well, you kind of learn that you can sing or that you love singing from when you start talking and you find out what singing is. Um, and then I've had lots of different vocal coaches throughout the years from being a child into adulthood. And I even did like some training as soprano as well. But I think when I was young, I really loved musicals and the acting musical side of things. Um, and I still do, but as I kind of became a teenager, I started to try and figure out where I was vocally and where I kind of fitted in musically. And I started to realize that I had been singing with an American accent, as a lot of people do. It's very normal, like it's a
Yeah.
normal thing, especially when you listen to musicals and that's your thing. You without thinking, you tend to sing with an American accent. But I started to kind of question that and be thinking, well, that's I'm not American, so what is my accent? And I started just trying to sing the way I speak, and I've just kept with that.
Yeah.
Um, and so whatever way I sing now is from that. I don't know. I try and sing the way I speak, and now it just comes out whatever way it comes out. I don't really think about it. But that was where the transition to what it is now came in. It was as a young teenager trying to figure out why am I singing with an American accent when I'm not, and what is my accent. So just trying to sing as I speak. And then my dad he was able to yodel.
All
So
right.
I guess I can't do it intentionally, but I know there's a bit of a yodel to to my voice
Mm.
sometimes, and my mum's always like, "That's where that comes from. That was your dad."
What about the rest? Because you're the youngest of five, you said.
Yeah.
Are any of those musical, or is it just with, or like you said, your dad had something, but I mean, it's anybody else do music?
My uncle doesn't want to admit it, but he's a phenomenal singer. Like
Yeah.
you'll never get him to sing, but we know he's a phenomenal singer. He's got a good voice. All the girls are able to hold a tune. They're all pretty musical and really good at singing. And like I grew up with my mum playing keyboard,
Yeah.
and so that's where my love for keyboard comes in. And my oldest sister, she plays a bit of cello, and yeah, the boys aren't that musical, but the girls will be a little bit, but nobody like fully dived into music. I'm the only one that kind of has taken it on as a proper passion that wants to make something out of it, you know.
How do you start the songwriting process? Are you somebody who plays guitar, or do you get melodies? Do you write lyrics down late at night, or is it different every time? Or do you go in with a band and you jam?
So with the band specifically, it starts with either myself or with Alan, the guitarist, and one of us will have an idea. And so, say if it was me, I'm lucky that I tend to get lyrics and vocal melody together. Because I know a lot of people will get one and they have to
Mm.
work to try and come up with the other. I would say like 8 times out of 10, the two kind of come hand in hand for me. And I could be in the shower, I could be walking down the street and something pops into my head. And then I'm
Yeah.
like whipping out my phone, trying to like sing subtly while walking down the road into my phone so I don't forget it. And I'm lucky as well that I tend to get a full song when I start getting the idea and I start thinking about it. So I'll sit in my own little home studio and throw down some vocals, throw down the lyrics, and then I'll send that on to the guys, and then they come up with ideas. And then when we meet for band practice, the song then starts to develop from there. And then it would be the same with Alan. He'll get a guitar idea, and he'll make kind of a good structure of a song out of that, and then send it on to us. And then we're trying to write, and then when we go to band practice, we develop it as well. So yeah.
What is the best lyric you think you've written to date? The lyric where you went, oh, I've written that. That is amazing. Because
So
every
I
singer
knew,
and songwriter should feel that way on one lyric in particular.
yeah, I knew you were going to ask because I know that you always ask
Yes.
everybody that you chat to about this, and I find this question so hard. But the one thing that does come into my head is a song that I wrote ages ago for it's an Australian artist called Low Tide, and it was a song called Focus, and it's focus on the goal, can't be swayed, can't be sold, a mission to transition from silver to gold, force to be reckoned with, power of the mind. I know I'm only young, but I make use of my time. And it's just feels like a powerful vocal, and I was really feeling it when I wrote it, and I was
Yeah,
really determined and in that moment. And it's something that's always kind of stuck with me as
yeah.
a bit of a motivator. So I guess maybe that's my favorite. I don't know.
That's lovely. And as I say to everybody I talk to, I'll just make a note of that for
Yeah.
future songs. But like, that sounds very
What's yours,
familiar.
Michelle? What's yours?
Nobody ever says like, I want to be in love with you. You want to be in love with me. It's like, what, you know, it's these are really good like little stories. And most people I speak to have got fantastic. They're fantastic lyricists. And I'm always like, yeah, I'll have that. I'll take that one.
I
Um,
love lyrics because it's like poetry, isn't it? And it's
yes.
always from the heart. I'm so precious about my lyrics. I'm so
Mm,
annoying. I hate trying to sing other people's lyrics because I need to be able to connect with it, and I need to be able to understand it and really feel it. So
mm.
it's important. What's your favorite lyrics that
Oh, I,
you've ever written?
do you know what? By a famous person, it would be "I need you more than want you, and I want you for all time." And
Nice.
that is by that's from Wichita Linesman, Glenn
Yeah.
Campbell. I just think, and I'm not a massive fan of Glenn Campbell's, but that is probably one of the best lyrics because it's so
Beautiful.
simple. But obviously,
Yeah.
he wrote that back. Well, I don't know. I don't know actually if he wrote it or somebody else wrote that song. I know that he obviously sung it, but that's one of my favourites. Yeah,
I love it. It's one of those things as well where you listen to it and you go, God, I wish I wrote that.
yeah, that's why I do
I
every
wish I
time.
wrote
Yeah,
that down.
I wish I wrote that down. I didn't write that
Yeah.
song. Um, with you, with music, and I do again ask all artists this: do you ever feel songs come through you from somewhere else that you get like things come and you start writing and you think, where did that come from, or does it not happen? Some people it does. They feel good. They have a spiritual connection with the sounds a bit hippie, but with the whole of the universe and think and you know. What do
I
you think?
feel seen, Michelle. I feel seen by what you've just asked me. I always feel like music is so emotional and so um it's like almost spiritual, hippy dippy. But I feel that way, and um it's very much like pops into my head, and that's where I'm like, okay, stop everything. I've got to keep working on this. And something that's happened to me recently that never used to happen to me, and it's happened twice in I'd say the last 3 months,
Mm.
is I have gone to sleep and had a dream and woke up with a whole new song.
Oh wow!
And I've started creating a song in my sleep, and then I'm waking up and I'm like recording what I've made in my sleep. And then you kind of get stressed and you're like, Shazam, trying to sing into Shazam. Is this something that already exists,
Yeah.
or like, and you can't find it anywhere, and then you're just kind of baffled by that. Like, how have I written a song in my sleep? That's bananas, you know.
Mm.
But it's so it's it's so much more than, like, I always struggled with music in school because when you make it a textbook situation, it kind of takes away from the heart of music. And
Yeah.
it's great to know the textbook side of music.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably something I need to work on more, but it's so much more than that. And it's so much more of a saving grace when you're emotionally struggling, or even if you're having a fabulous time and you need some kind of a tool to express how happy you are
Yeah.
or whatever. It's more than your textbook. So it's definitely an emotional it's an emotional thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, definitely spiritual, and it comes into my head out of nowhere.
Mm.
Sometimes I have to sit down and I'm like, right, I really need to write a song. So let's,
Yeah.
and then you're writing for the sake of writing because something will pop up at some point.
Yeah.
So you're writing pages of rubbish just to write and get the creativity flowing.
Mm.
Um, but for the most part, it'll just pop into my head, and then I have to stop everything and
Yeah.
sit down and figure out, what about you? The same
Me?
thing with you? Yeah.
I'm very lazy. I'm very lazy. I'd suddenly get ideas and then I don't, and then I record and then I don't. So, but as I say to everybody, it's like with writing or anything like that, drawing, you have to really continually do it because you have to work through blockages, and
Oh God, yeah.
you can get blockages with like anything creative, and
Yeah.
I tend not to work through it and then just go in fits and starts. So I mean, I can do like I love just doing like little duets to other people's music at the moment. That's what I like doing. So I like being on TikTok and doing stuff.
No, I follow you on TikTok. You're
I love
great on
it.
TikTok.
I love
I need to be
TikTok.
better. I'm gonna just be like, what is Michelle doing? I need to do this as well. Okay.
And
Ah,
but I keep going to TikTok shop. That's the worst thing I've got at the moment. I'm like, oh, what's that? I'll order that. I've got loads of stuff coming through, like makeup and dresses, and
I didn't even know there was a
oh,
TikTok shop.
no,
I've
it's
gotten onto book talk, and all of
oh,
a sudden I'm having ideas of maybe I should start doing book talk now as well. It's making me
oh.
want to go out and buy loads of books.
Oh,
That's
I
for
like a
sure.
proper book. The track Shivers, which was the one we played on the show, which was out probably about a month or two ago. What's coming up? Is this from an album, or is there more singles going to be released over the next sort of 6 months?
So, we will have another release coming up. I'm going to say the end of August, very beginning of September.
Excellent.
The news on that will come up on our social media very soon. Um, and then we are working on an album as well. The two songs will get included on the album as well.
Yeah,
Um, but at the moment, we've put out a link because, as you know, music industry is expensive and we want to record an album and that costs an awful lot of money. So we have popped up a link for a GoFundMe for anybody that enjoys our music. If they want to, like, instead of buying a cup of coffee for themselves one day, throw us that €3 or €4 because like anything like that helps so much. Um, but it is the next goal now is the album.
yeah. So
Ah.
you've just said about being, I was going to say, tell people out there as an independent musician why it is so hard. And you've already said people can help by, going to your GoFundMe page, or, what would you like to say to people about why it's important that we have independent music?
For sure. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you look at the likes of Ed Sheeran and all of these amazing musicians, they didn't. It will appear that they just became famous overnight, but the truth is that they've probably been working for about 10 years
Yeah,
at their craft, just on that one project. Never mind all the many bands that they might have had before this one project that they're now succeeding in.
yeah,
um, the work that they have to put in is so intense. And especially nowadays compared to like 10 years ago, 10 years ago was very much heavily based on like your live performance and not so much about your social media. Although social media did exist,
yeah,
it wasn't what it is now. And so 10 years ago, you were looking at like you could go out any night of the week into town, any venue probably had about five cool local bands playing, and you learned about music that way. You
mm,
got your fans or your following that way, and it was a lot easier for newer bands to get gigs and get the word out there in that sense. Nowadays, and especially since pandemic, band nights are far and few between. So
yeah,
it's very heavily social media based. Um, and so it's not just about coming up with good music and making sure that the audience likes what they hear, but you have to be so business savvy.
yeah,
And because the music industry is incredible, but it's also incredibly complicated and
yes,
ever changing.
yeah,
Um, and there's always something new that we're having to contend with, something new that we're having to learn, something new that we're having to figure out and navigate through. So there's lots of seminars that you're going into, um, lots of like online Zoom meetings that you're trying to join and listen to people in the business and learn new things, figure out what it is that you need to do. You need to be basically like amazing at marketing.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not it's not just like you have to be a great musician and a great singer
mm,
and all of that. Like that's a big part of it, obviously. But nowadays you need so much more, and you cannot do it without support from people,
yes,
because musicians invest so much time and so much money, and they don't make money
no,
until they get to the level of Ed Sheeran and all of
mm,
that kind of thing. And we don't do it because we want to make money, but if we want to keep doing it, we have to make money.
yeah.
Um, so it is really important. I mean, I think we made like 250 off of Spotify in the last year.
Well, that's not 250.
No, two
That's
two
two
euro
two
and
euro
50
50.
cents.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? So I mean, we're not going to be able to do this album without help from people. And even when people are thinking, oh, like have merch to sell, but that costs money as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If I want 50 t-shirts printed, I have to look at about €300
Mm,
spent on just printing 50 t-shirts.
yeah,
And you know, it's not, and then we're paying, there's, and we're not the only ones. This is what every new band,
yeah,
every artist, even if they're not new and they're around 6 years, but they're still pushing on.
yeah.
They'll make it, but
Mm.
they're still at that point where they need support from people that enjoy their music and want them to succeed.
And
Um,
going out to see live bands and liking social media, and even bands that have been famous that might have, they're not like the big and like Coldplay, but they're sort of like the media bands. They're still having problems filling venues because the venues are expensive. They've got the tour costs, and sometimes you see advertised a band's going to do a certain amount of gigs, and then because of lack of interest, they can't do it. The
yeah,
gig is gone. So it is people going out to see live music, but with new bands, it's about liking socials. And I know it's a weird concept, but you can go onto things like Bandcamp, and all of the money from Bandcamp, and it's 99 pence to download something digitally, or you can buy a CD if you want to really help a band. And that's what,
yeah, incredible.
you're not looking at very much money at all, but it's getting
No.
people into that way of thinking that if we don't have people helping younger musicians and any actually not younger musicians, any musicians across the board, you're not. It's only going to be for the rich people that will be able to record, and that is obviously not what we want.
Exactly. It's just everything's gotten tougher, if you want to
Yeah,
put it that way. And I I adore music. I adore the industry. Um, but it is tougher. It's much tougher than it
yeah,
used to be. So it's so important that if you like something, if you have randomly found a band on YouTube, go and like that video or
mm,
share it. If you can't give a fiver, that's okay. But
yeah,
like, do follow them, do like their posts, do
yeah,
share it, do tell your friends, because that's just as important, if not more important.
yeah,
Um, and I can't stress that enough. If we want the creative sector globally to continue on, and be as epic as it always has been, it is just so vital that everybody really supports the people that they like, the bands they enjoy, the artists, the photographers, videographers, any creative person that they think are good and that they enjoy. They need to just be sure to support them, because our creative sector globally is going to just crash
mm,
without that support. It's so important, and so much more goes on behind the scenes than anybody ever sees.
yes, absolutely. Now, have
No.
you got any gigs coming up? Are you doing any gigs over this year? Are you doing any festivals?
So we are hoping to have a couple of gigs. Again, it'll be announced on social media
Yep,
soon. We are hoping. Like I said, it's harder to get gigs post-pandemic because there's not as many band nights. Venues want to hire people that have a huge following, which is totally understandable because they need to make money. But because of this reason, it is harder to get those gigs. So we're
yep,
kind of hoping after the next release that venues will believe in us and want us to come into their venue and play a gig. I know they're watching, so they're interested. But
yeah.
I'm just hoping, and if you're watching, give us a gig. Give us a gig, guys. Yeah, so I mean, we did play two gigs so far. One was an amazing gig. We played Dolan's in Limerick, main stage, and that was just fantastic. We got a great reception to that, and we just loved it. And then we played another gig, which was in the Soundhouse in Dublin, and again, smaller venue, really intimate. It was really lovely. So we love gigging, and we're not new to gigging either. We've been around the block with other bands and stuff, so it's just a totally different vibe. You can't really describe it. So we're dying to get back out there and get back on the stage, and yeah. So watch our social media,
And
and
you've mentioned social media. It is Gather the Lost, and you're across social media everywhere. So if you want to find you on Spotify, Apple Music, or if you want to go onto Bandcamp, you're on there as well.
yeah, Bandcamp, Breaking Tunes, Apple, uh, everywhere that you can download music, you're gonna find us. And then
And also on
Instagram, if
Facebook
you
and
can.
Instagram, Gather the Lost. Just look at the name, good name, Gather the Lost, and you'll be able to
Thank
go and like and give a like, and also give a comment, say hi, because that's always
you. Yeah,
nice as well.
do. We love getting comments and
Yeah.
messages, and we go back to our band practice and we discuss all the nice messages that we get when we get them, and they make a difference.
So I
Make
look forward to getting the new track end
Yeah.
of August, September.
Oh, I'll send it to
And
you before then, Michelle.
yeah, of course, I'll get that before.
You'll
I like
you'll
to get
get
in
to
there.
hear it before then. Don't worry.
As I said to you, whenever I see a band, if they've been on the show and they've released a song and I happen to see their socials, and I'm like, you've not sent anything to me. And then they go, well, you like to keep sending. I was like, well, you've not sent it to me. I get really fun. I'm like, blimey, that's a bit of a cheat. Come on, send me your stuff. Because
No, you'll get
we
it.
love new music on Phoenix FM. There's 38 other presenters as well. Don't forget if you want to send any other tunes
Yeah.
to them.
And thank you as well, because you support a lot of new artists or bands like us that are independent, and um, you just get it and you support us, and it makes such a huge difference, probably more than you would ever understand, the difference that you make to us, and kind of makes our month getting
Oh,
that
thank
kind of
you.
support. So we're really grateful. So thank you so much, Michelle.
Oh, you're welcome. I know I'm a musician myself, and I feel the pain, especially when he's coming to release the songs. I'm like, can I be bothered? I've already, I'm like, I know exactly. It's releasing a baby. It's releasing your baby out into the world, and then seeing what happens with it. So it's a lot.
Hoping.
Yeah, yeah. Fingers crossed, hoping
Hoping.
that a dog's not going to run off with it. That's what I always
Yeah.
say. It's been lovely to talk to you again, Carolyn, and
It's
thank
been
you very
lovely to
much.
talk to
Gather
you
the
as
Lost,
well.
you'll find them everywhere across social media, so make sure you look. And if you like what the band are doing, give them a like and check out their socials. Go and find them on Bandcamp, Apple, and Spotify. So you have a great afternoon. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye.